class. Perfect. Perfect. So welcome everyone to our chapter's President's Council meeting recap, live before studio audience. This will be available on our YouTube channel, as well as the slides from the full meeting will be linked in our Google documentation. So for this particular meeting, I'm going to go over some highlights of the Chapter President's Council meeting that was held in conjunction with Legislative Day. As you all, if you are here live with us, feel free to ask any questions as I'm presenting in the chat. If you're wondering kind of what the difference between this meeting is and the live meeting, there are a lot of discussion elements to the live meeting that we will not be going over today for the sake of time. I have about an hour before Andrea Caulfield, Senior Manager of Membership, will be joining us to discuss the the regional membership competition. So I would like to go ahead and get started with my part of the presentation, if you will. So if everyone can put in the chat your name, your chapter, and your office within the chapter, for those of you who are on with me live. For those of you who watch the recording, please email me this information and I will email you back with I hesitate to say the word quiz, but with some questions about the recording, just to make sure that you caught all of the important information. For those of you who are here with us live, I have those questions here for you live, answered on this group. All right, moving forward. So the first topic that we discussed was planning to engage through chapter meetings. One of the items that came up previously was that we were having trouble getting people to chapter meetings, also just engaging our members through those meetings. So we talked a little bit about what that looks like. So there are 3 types of meetings that you should be having. You can mix and match these types of meetings, but there really are 3. The first of which is your product presentation. Those are your meetings where you have a supplier partner coming to present some sort of product. This is going to be the typical chapter meeting and probably the one that you are most familiar with. So if you have Royal Caribbean, for example, coming to explain about what's new with their ships and products, that is going to be this type of meeting. Another type of meeting you may be familiar with are social gatherings. So if your chapter is meeting at a coffee shop, you're doing a virtual happy hour or something similar to that, that is going to be your social gathering type meeting. Last but certainly not least are going to be your informational meetings. Those meetings are going to be ones where you're going to be teaching your chapter members not necessarily about a product, but about something that is going to either help them build their business or maybe something related to ASTA. So a perfect type of informational meeting is how to make the most of your ASTA membership. Some chapters have also done Excel meetings showing their chapter members how to utilize Excel or social media or other things. The most important point I'd like to make here is mix it up. You can have several types of meetings, and these types of meetings are going to help to attract different types of members within your chapter. So constantly be mixing it up. You can also pick maybe 2 out of the 3 of these types of meetings to have within one meeting. So what that looks like, for example, is maybe at the beginning of your meeting, you have some social time and then you have a product presentation, or you have some information about AstaPack perhaps, and then you have a product presentation or social gathering afterwards. I wouldn't try to fit all 3 of these aspects into one meeting unless your meeting is particularly long, only because that could cause some frustration. But I would encourage you to pick maybe 2 out of the 3 elements to include in your chapter meeting. Does anyone have any questions about that? I'll take a look in the chat. All right, seeing none, moving forward.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things we want to do is we want to plan to engage with members when we are planning our meeting. Engagement can happen at every step of the meeting planning. So you want to make sure that you are actually planning to engage. And so what does that look like? First and foremost, you want to be posting your chapter meetings to ASTA's industry calendar. There are resources on YouTube as well as there are resources on YouTube as well as step-by-step instructions in our Google documentation on how to post your chapter meetings. When you're planning to engage with members by posting your chapter meetings, you're giving members and potential members the opportunity to view what you're up to without having to necessarily be a current ASTA member. ASTA's industry calendar is open to all members and non-members. So those who are looking to join ASTA, perhaps in your area, can view your chapter meetings via this calendar, which is why it's so important for you to post those meetings. The next part of planning to engage with your members through your chapter meeting is to send out a meeting agenda ahead of time. This can be as formal or as informal as you want. It can be something from a simple sentence that says, we have, the best BDM coming from the best supplier partner to speak to us about updates from the best supplier partner. That allows your members to know exactly what is coming and can entice them to join your meeting, even if they had not planned to do so earlier. Maybe this is a new supplier partner that they haven't heard from, or maybe it's an older supplier partner that they know very well, but this supplier partner has new things coming up. Including some of those things in your agenda can help engage members to come to your meeting, as they will be looking forward to your meeting content. And that's really what we want to do in posting our meetings and sending out an agenda ahead of time. What we're doing is we are gathering interest in the meeting content to entice members to come to meetings. Last but certainly not least, you want to send out a post-meeting report. Now, this is another way that you can engage members, because truth be told, we all cannot make it to every single meeting as much as we would like to. Sending out a post-meeting report allows you to engage with those members who were unable to make it, and it also lets members know the type of content that your chapter provides. This is a great tool to kind of say, hey, you missed out this time, but next time we will welcome you, and we'll probably think again about missing a meeting, especially if you are providing great content. If you ask me what the most important one of these items were, I would say they are all of equal importance, because you are engaging members at every step, whether or not they are a member or not, by posting it on the calendar, engaging interest through sending out an agenda ahead of time, and for those who were unable to make it to your meeting, making sure they know exactly what happened so they could be interested in future meetings. So again, I would say these are all of equal importance as we want to engage members at every step of the way. Before we move on to planning to engage our supplier partners, does anyone have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. So we do want to plan to engage our supplier partners. And when we plan to engage our supplier partners, there's really two parts to this. We want to engage them prior to our chapter meeting or a chapter meeting and after said meeting. So engagement prior to the meeting. Introduce them to attendees. This is as simple as sending out that agenda that I mentioned when engaging attendees. For example, if I'm a supplier partner and I'm joining your chapter meeting, you could say, and include me on an email to your members and say, I'd like to introduce Jasmine Causey. She is the Director of Chapter Relations at ASTA, and she will be joining us at our meeting on June the 30th to talk about making the most of your ASTA membership. Go ahead and include your supplier partner on that introductory email to your members. If your supplier partner is going to be giving out some sort of prize or different things like that, you can also allude to that in your pre-email to your members. You want to make sure that you have a technology conversation with your supplier partners. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that they are familiar with the technology you plan on using. So for example, if you plan on using Zoom, whose Zoom are you using? Sometimes supplier partners have their own platform that they like to use to present to your members, especially if you're meeting virtually. Sometimes they would need you to provide that platform. Having that conversation ahead of time assures that all are on the same page and it makes your presentations go smoothly. If you are having a live meeting, for example, you want to make sure that your supplier partner is aware of the technology that's available at the venue. Certain venues have the ability for projection or sound, and you want to make sure that the supplier partner is aware of that. And the opposite, if those things are not available, you want to make sure your supplier partner is aware of those as well. This way they come ready to present in the method that is most comfortable for them and is allowed by your particular venue. Last but certainly not least, ask them to offer a prize. This could be anything from tchotchkes that they probably have building up at home. Some supplier partners have nights at their property or different things that they could give away. This is a great way to engage them, and in your pre-email to your members, you can state what prizes would be offered. One of the methods that I use to see who is to get those prizes is I use a technology called Kahoot, which is a quiz technology that allows you to have the members engaged by answering questions based on the supplier's presentation. If you'd like a demonstration of that technology, please let me know and I'm happy to provide one for you. Other ways that we have done is they've done a drawing of everyone who is in attendance or a drawing of business cards. I personally am a big fan of having travel advisors turn in their business cards at the beginning of meetings and encouraging travel advisors to bring their business cards to meetings. This way, your supplier partner also has an idea of who attended your meeting. These are all ways to engage with your supplier partners prior to them ever stepping foot in your meeting and or presenting to your chapter. Does anyone have any questions here? All right, seeing none. Engagement after the meeting. The first one I put here, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I will happily do that. The first one I say is send a thank you note. We get very little mail nowadays, but if you have the method, I would encourage you, send a handwritten thank you note. It makes a big difference and it does make you stand out to your supplier partners because most of the mail that we get physically, probably bills and almost nothing else. I personally enjoy getting a handwritten thank you note whenever I do a presentation, and I imagine our supplier partners do as well. You are also okay to send a list of attendees, people who actually attended their meeting with their contact email information, so that they can follow up with anyone who had questions, as well as just know who attended their meeting. And this is the best time right after a meeting to invite them to a future meeting. If they've already presented at your meeting, let's say in March, maybe invite them to your meeting in September. Or if you are a chapter that's having a trade show, you can say, hi, you were able to meet some of our members via this smaller chapter meeting, but we will be having our chapter trade show on X date, and I would like to invite you as a presenter to that trade show. The best time to get people, both supplier partners and members, to sign up for your next meeting is at your current meeting. It does go a long way just to go that extra step to show our supplier partners appreciation for presenting at your meeting. So I would encourage you to do all of these things as you are able. Does anyone have any questions here? And if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself or just post your question into the chat and I will answer that. I do have the chat up and I am watching. All right, let's talk about your standard meeting agenda items. Actually, before we go on to that, what is the best way to get a list of supplier members? The list for our chapter is very out of date. Yes, so you can use Real Magnet to get a list of the supplier partners. Now, you may have to do some reaching out because when our supplier partners sign up for ASTA membership, they often put their BDMs underneath their corporate address. A lot of the times, the BDMs are spread out over the country and they are not all located at that corporate address. So the best way to get a list, an accurate list, is to start with the list that you have. And then from there, if there's someone on that list that you're saying, okay, you know, you're not in our area, ask them to put you in touch with the BDM that is in your area. And that would be the best way to do it, is just to ask. We are working with our business development department to help move the BDMs to their proper areas. So we're hoping that as we continue to make that effort, your list will become more and more accurate. We also have a supplier list on asta.org, which can help a little bit as well. And then I would say your supplier partners, you can always check with us to see if they're a member of ASTA, but you probably have supplier partners that you know whose product would be very good, will make a very good presentation for your chapter. Are there any other questions about engaging supplier partners? All right, seeing none, let's talk a little bit about meeting agenda items. So the following items I'm going to mention should be a part of every single chapter meeting in some way, shape, or form. Depending on the type of meeting, it may not be a very formal part of the meeting, but it should be included in some way. After we go over all the agenda items, I will go through how to include them, even if your meeting is not extremely formal. So the first thing you want to do is to introduce the meeting host. That can be the chapter president, or it can be another chapter member. Really, it's going to be the person who has the relationship with the supplier partner who is there. So if the chapter president is the one who did the inviting, they should be the meeting host and introduce themselves. And then if it wasn't the chapter president, if it was another chapter member or chapter officer, they should be the one to do the introduction. And they want to make sure that they introduce themselves to everyone. Next, you want to introduce any other chapter officers that are present at the meeting. This is important because it does take several officers to successfully run ASTA chapters, and you want to acknowledge everyone in the room. Also, if other people are looking to get involved in your chapter, it's good to show them which volunteers they should talk to about getting involved. So after you've introduced the meeting host, you want to introduce any other chapter officers, committee heads, so on, that are present in the meeting. Then you want to make chapter announcements. These can be as simple as, hey, we are meeting here at Starbucks for a social hour, but our next meeting is going to be on July the 4th, and we're going to the beach to see fireworks. That's probably what I'll be doing on July the 4th, but you see the point. You want to make sure that at your current meeting, you're making any chapter announcements. Other good chapter announcements are, hey, a number of us are planning to go to ASTA's Global Convention, and we would like to have dinner with all of the chapter members who are going to be present. So if you are interested in having dinner with us, please talk to name chapter officer so we can have your name on our list and we can plan a dinner together. Those are great chapter announcements. After you've made your chapter announcements, you want to make any national announcements. This could include upcoming national events, especially if the chapter is planning on being in attendance, as you should. This could also include any national wins, such as the lifting of the inbound testing mandate and other items of interest for ASTA. For example, we have our Caribbean Showcase that's coming up. This is a great time to show members exactly what being a member of their association is doing for them. And I will be helping you all with that by sending out more updates as to what ASTA headquarters is doing starting in August. You then want to introduce the meeting topic and speaker. Much like I did earlier in the pre-email to the meeting, you want to introduce the meeting topic and speaker, and this can be done by the host or whoever invited the particular speaker. And it goes something like, this is Jasmine Causey. She is the Director of Chapter Relations at ASTA, and today she will be talking about making the most of your ASTA membership. Please welcome Jasmine Causey. Yay! Very simple, it sounds very simple, and it sounds very informal, but it does just enough to make sure that you are running your meeting in a timely manner. After the speaker has spoken, you want to then do a closing of the meeting. So you want to remind everyone of your upcoming meetings and then let them know that you, as a president or other chapter officers, are available for questions and concerns or suggestions and different things like that. This invites chapter members to come talk to you about what's going on and how they feel like they can assist the chapter. So these are how your meeting agenda items could work. I would like to run through a sample meeting. So one of the chapters during our live meeting had gone axe throwing as part of a social meeting. So even at that social meeting, the chapter president could introduce themselves and tell them, say, hello, I'm the chapter president, and welcome to our social gathering. I have our chapter secretary and our chapter vice president who are here with us. Our next meeting will be on the beach, and nationally, we're so happy to hear that the inbound testing rule is done. And we don't have a topic for today. We're just going to enjoy each other, so feel free to network. And that's it. I've gone through the top bullets, and then at the end of the meeting, before everyone leaves, we'll say, okay, our axe throwing time is done, and now we will be, you're welcome to stay if you'd like, but our meeting is officially over. Feel free to stay and network. Very, very simple. And I did that in, less than a minute or two. So you do want to include these agenda items, and you can even write them down on a formal agenda to hand out to your chapter members, or you can just make sure that you're stating them out loud. We do have, and we have had, an influx of new members who we are trying to make sure that they can get connected with your chapter. So we can't take for granted that everyone in the room may not know everyone else in the room, and this is why we included these agenda items. Are there any questions here? All right. So earlier I talked about types of meetings, and in this part, I'm going to talk a little bit about methods. So we have virtual versus in person and versus hybrid. There are a few best practices I would like to highlight for these types of meetings. So for all meetings, we want to make sure that we have a professional dress, and we also want to make sure that we keep time in mind. And what I mean by that is we want to make sure that your meeting has appropriate pacing for the type of meeting that you are having, whether that is in person, virtual, or hybrid. So virtual meetings, you should really keep these to about 1 hour. And this includes time for questions and answers. So working with your supplier partner, you want to make sure that they are leaving time for questions and discussion. You want to encourage attendees to keep their cameras on and their mics off. Cameras on because there is nothing more discouraging than to present an entire presentation to a room full of empty boxes. But keeping your mics off because it can be very, very distracting if there are sounds and different things going on in the background. And you want to be online with your presenter at least 15 minutes prior to the start of your meeting. If you are using a Zoom platform, you can enable the waiting room so that no one is allowed in the meeting until you're ready. The reason why I encourage you to get online with your presenter at least 15 minutes prior is because you will need time to make sure that screens can be shared, that you're sharing them in presenter mode, and any other sound issues can be worked out prior to having your attendees get online. And so 15 minutes allows plenty of time for you to work through any technical issues that you might be having, switch computers if you need be, and so on. So I would encourage you to do all of those things, and this will help you to keep your meetings moving right along. For in-person meetings, some key things I'd like to highlight here. Arrive early, and I would say no later than 15 minutes, but I would caution you to probably 30 minutes before your meeting. Make sure you've spoken with the venue about where you will be, if you have printed materials or a sign-in sheet, or you're collecting cash, etc. You want to make sure that those items are already in place. Attendees with ASTA, in my experience, tend to arrive early. So if you're 30 minutes early and they're 15 minutes early, you want to make sure all of those items are in place and your people are in place. For example, if they have to register in one place and then go down the hall and around the corner to the your meeting space, you want to make sure that there's someone there to serve as a human directional while they do that. If you're doing sign-in, you want to allow time for that. Make sure you have all your materials, such as pens. If you're signing waivers or anything of that sort, as dictated by the venue, you want to make sure that all of those things. This also gives time for you to get a table, to put up pop-up banners, whatever you need. And that's why I would encourage you to arrive early. You want to be welcoming your attendees into a space that has been suitably prepared for them. You also want to encourage attendees, especially in your pre-email, to bring their business cards, several copies of their business card if they have them. And the reason why is we often plan to network with our supplier partners, but we rarely plan to network with each other, which I think is a shame. When I went to a chapter meeting, I did the calculations and found out that there were over 75 years of travel advisor experience in the room. If you're counting my almost 9 years at ASTA as travel experience or experience in the travel industry, I would love to talk to some of these people who have been in business for 30, 40 plus years. They've been in business for longer than I've been alive. So exchanging business cards with them and just being able to talk to them about what's been going on would be very helpful for me as a young travel advisor, or young in the travel industry, if you will. So I would encourage attendees in your email, your pre-email to them, to make sure that they are bringing their business cards if you are meeting in person, so that they can network not only with their supplier partners, but also with each other. Any questions about virtual meetings or in-person meetings and best practices for both? All right, seeing none. So hybrid meetings. Some chapters have done hybrid meetings, and I would like to provide some tips for those as well. A hybrid meeting is when a portion of your meeting attendees are attending in person, and a portion of your meeting attendees are attending via Zoom or some other virtual method. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you work out which elements of which meeting or the meeting will work for each type of attendee. For example, I attended a hybrid meeting where the in-person attendees went on a site visit prior to joining the remainder of the hybrid meeting. While it would have been nice to go on a site visit, a lot of times hotels do not have strong enough Wi-Fi or cell phone service that would make that portion of the meeting worthwhile. So you want to consider all of those things as if you choose to host a hybrid meeting. In addition, you want to come early to test your technology. For example, you want to make sure that you have someone either in person or via your hybrid method, your virtual method, who can see and hear what's going on in the room. You want to have a computer that's faced towards whoever is presenting, and you also want to have one where they can see the audience if possible, prioritizing the one that is facing towards the presenter. You want to make sure that they can connect effectively and that they can hear what's going on in the room. And essential to this type of meeting is having an online host. This is someone who is not hosting the meeting in person, a separate person who's dedicated solely to those people who are joining online. This person is active in the chat and engaging the members via the chat. They'll use the chat to repeat any questions in the room, to ask speakers to speak louder if things cannot be heard, etc. They're also posing questions to those in the chat to keep them engaged as they are watching the presentation. And again, I cannot emphasize it enough, the person who is the online host should be separate from the person who is hosting in person. Because if you try to make it the same person, unfortunately, that has them running back and forth trying to get to a computer and get to the hosting in the room. So you want to make sure that you have an online host available for questions. This is also a place where attendees online can say, I cannot hear, I cannot see, etc., and you can make the appropriate adjustments quickly. The technology that I spoke about earlier, the quiz technology Kahoot, actually works very well either virtually or in person. And if you're using the same platform, you can have them participate. You can have participants who are virtual and in person participate on the same quiz, which works out very well for hybrid meetings. The national chapter, National ASTA, has a Kahoot account that is available for chapters to use. And again, if you need me or would like me to present to your chapter on how to use this technology, I'm happy to do so. All right, before we move on to our next topic, which is our elections overview, does anyone have any questions about meetings and best practices for the types of meetings that your chapter is most likely going to have? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is our election overview, inspiring members to vote. So in 2021, during Legislative Day, I presented the voting process to our chapter presidents with the idea in mind, if the chapter presidents and chapter leadership understood the voting process, then they could help explain the voting process at ASTA to our ASTA members. And so I'm doing that again today. I'd like to say that the engagement that we had last year, I feel like was very high. It was higher than in previous years. And I do believe that is due in at least partially to the fact that our chapter presidents and chapter leadership were very well aware of the process. So the first thing I'm going to go over is where can you find elections information? Because that's going to be important for both you and your chapter members. So you're going to go to About Us and then go to Governance. And then you're going to go to Elections. So this is going to take you to a page that is linked to several other pages that will give you additional information on ASTA's elections process. So what's on the ballot this year? We have 3 at-large director seats on ASTA's national board that are up for election. We also have the Northeast Regional Director seat that is up for election, as well as the Southeast Regional Director seats that are up for election. Currently, both seats are occupied, and those who currently occupy the seats are running again for re-election, which they are welcome and allowed to do. And then we also have 1 regional director seat on ASTA's National Board of Directors. So for those of you who may be new to the chapter system and may not be aware, our chapter system is broken up into 6 regions. This year, the Eastern regions, that being Northeast and Southeast regional director seats, are up for election. Next year, it will be the North Central, South Central, Northwest, and Southwest regions that will be up for election. There are 3 seats that are particular to regional directors that are held on our National Board of Directors, and one of those seats is currently up for election. If you are located in the Northeast or Southeast, you will be voting first for the regional director within your region, and then again to select from the winning candidates, 1 person to sit on ASTA's National Board of Directors. Are there any questions about that process? These votes are going to be in addition to the ballot that ASTA members will receive to vote to fill the 3 at-large director seats that are currently up for election. We had yesterday a special edition of Welcome Wednesday where you could meet the candidates, and that recording is going to be available on the elections webpage as well. Some of the candidates were unable to make it, so we're going to have additional recordings of their introductory 5 minutes available on the elections pages as well. So you'll be able to view them and to evaluate them as far as who you would like to vote for to represent you on ASTA's National Board of Directors. I cannot emphasize how much or how important it is for you to vote, as this is your association, and if you are an agency owner or you are a voting member as part of a premium, host, or consortia, you have the right to vote and you should exercise that right. If you have questions about your particular voting ability, please let us know and we'll be happy to assist. So, some important dates. On Monday, July 11th, the ballots for the selection of regional directors will be sent to chapter presidents by region. So, those in the Northeast, you'll receive a ballot to vote for a regional director in the Northeast. Those in the Southeast region, you will be sent a ballot to select the regional director in the Southeast. On July the 12th, all eligible voting members of ASTA will receive ballots to select the at-large director seats. There are 3 that are up for election. So, and I'm emphasizing this because by July 12th, if you are in the Northeast or Southeast, you should have received 2 ballots. On Monday, July the 18th, that is the deadline for the receipt of the ballot from July the 11th. So a week later, those ballots are due. On Tuesday, July the 19th, we'll announce the winners of the Northeast regional seat and the Southeast regional seat, and then we'll begin runoff balloting to elect which regional director will sit on ASTA's National Board of Directors. So if you're keeping track, if you are in the Northeast and Southeast, on July 19th, you will receive a 3rd ballot. So you should have received 1 to vote for the chapter or the regional director within your region, 1 to vote for an at-large director, and 1 to vote in this runoff election on July the 19th. On Tuesday, July the 26th, that's the deadline for the receipt of all of your ballots at this point. So the ballots for the at-large directors from the voting members, and we're going to close the balloting in the runoff election. So the ballots that you received for the at-large directors portion and the runoff election are due by July the 26th. And we will announce the election results on July the 27th. Before we move forward, are there any questions about ASTA's election process? All right, before we move on to trade show tech tips, and I'm actually running quite to time, I would just like to emphasize again that as chapter leadership, it is very important that we encourage our members to vote. So going back a couple of slides, I would like to emphasize that on July the 26th, that is going to be important that everyone turn in their ballots by then. This is a date that's going to be very, very important. Once they receive their ballots, they should vote and turn them in. We want to encourage our members at our upcoming chapter meetings to vote. Going back again, sorry, my computer only wants to go forward. July the 12th. On July the 12th, I would suggest that all chapters send out some sort of communication to their members, or maybe you can wait until July the 13th, asking them if they've received a ballot. This way, if they did not, we can let them know that they can contact us at elections@asta.org or ask asta@asta.org to check on their voting status. Another date that I did not put up here, but I would like to let you all know, is that you must be an active member by 5 p.m. on July the 8th in order to receive your ballot. So if your membership is due to expire soon, you want to go ahead and renew that membership so that you can be included among the voting members. And again, if you are unsure if your membership type allows you to vote, please email us at elections@asta.org or at asta@asta.org, and we will let you know about the process for your particular membership type. Scrolling through important dates again, so you can see them one last time. Are there any questions before we move on to our next topic? All right. So one of my passions is technology and how technology can assist you in having a great trade show. So this next section is about trade show tech tips from me, based on some of the observations I've made while visiting chapter trade shows. So you want to plan to succeed. With trade shows and with technology in general, failing to plan is planning to fail. You want to think about your technology and your technology needs on the outset of planning for your trade show rather than as an afterthought. So as part of your planning, here are some questions I would encourage you to ask yourself and other members of your planning committee as you're working to plan for a trade show or other intensive meetings. First of all, what technology do we need? Some things that'll help determine that are, how large is your venue? For example, if you're presenting to a smaller room, I would say one that holds probably about 25 people or so, you may not need a sound system in order to do so. However, once you start to get larger than that, you may want to consider a sound system in order to help make sure that all attendees can hear what's being said during the presentation. This is going to ensure that everyone has a great time at your meeting. When you are looking at venues, particularly when you are looking at rooms where your trade show may be held, you want to consider what is available and what you will need. Another question you want to ask yourself is, will your presenters be bringing PowerPoint? If they are bringing a PowerPoint, you're going to need some sort of projection system, of course, and something to project it on, such as a screen. You want to think about, are those things available in our venue? Is that something that our chapter members have and can bring, etc.? Are those PowerPoints going to have sound? Are they going to have video? I'll get a little bit more into suppliers in their PowerPoints and some best tips as to how your chapter can handle that. I would like to state here, though, it is up to you as a chapter if you would like to allow your supplier partners to bring PowerPoints with sound and video, etc. If that is something that you choose to do, you want to make sure you know about that as you are picking your venue. For example, if a venue is going to allow you to have the technology and have it not cost anything additional, that is going to fare better than another venue that you may be considering that is not going to allow you to have that technology at low or no cost. So this will also help you pick your venue. So answering these questions for any sort of trade show or high-level meeting will help you to pick your venue. These things tend to be on the expensive side, especially if you are hosting at a hotel. And so thinking about these costs as before you sign any contracts is going to be very, very helpful, especially since adding them on the spot is usually going to cost a lot more than if you had thought about it beforehand. Next, you want to think about who can support your technology needs. Does the venue have support staff? If the venue does have support staff, such as an AV team or some sort of third-party contractor that they use, then are you going to be able to utilize them and at what cost? Does your chapter have the expertise? Do you have someone in your chapter who is good with audio-visual items, and can they help alleviate some of that cost? And then last but certainly not least, who else? So as a member of ASTA staff, I often support ASTA's meetings by helping to run AV. For example, if you happen to be at Legislative Day or at ASTA's Global Convention in 2020, what is 2022? 2021, I was the one clicking the slides for both of those events. And I often am one of the people in the background. So for chapters, what I have done in the past is I've helped run their tech desk and any other items that they might need when it comes to technology, because it's something I have been doing since high school and I do quite enjoy it. So for chapters who invite me to their meetings, I'm happy to help them, and I'm happy to help alleviate some of the costs that may be there if they needed to hire someone to do that. And if you would like me to come to your meeting or to help you sort through some of this technology items, please let me know and I will do my best to be there. Last but certainly not least, and I've mentioned it before, what will this cost us? The reason why I implore you to think about your technology costs prior to signing any contract is depending on what you need and what's available, different supplier partners or different hoteliers or venues are going to have different costs. For example, maybe they provide the equipment, but you're going to save $700 if you provide the person to run that equipment, etc. Some venues may require you to use their person and their equipment. Again, all of these costs should be considered in the planning stages of your event. All right. Before we move on to suppliers and their PowerPoints, does anyone have any questions here? All right, seeing none. Suppliers and their PowerPoints. So at most meetings, suppliers do like to show PowerPoints. We are in a very visual industry, especially if a supplier partner is from a destination. They want to show you the beautiful pictures of said destination. So one piece of advice, if I can give you one or several, is to get these PowerPoints in advance. And when I say in advance, I mean at least a week beforehand. You want to make sure that you are setting a due date for the presentation upon communicating with that supplier partner. So what that looks like is you have a supplier partner who's come to you and they've signed up for your trade show. And so when they sign up for your trade show, you can say, thank you so much for signing up for our trade show. All PowerPoint presentations are due by, and you set an appropriate date, and you can send them to us and you set an appropriate method. You want to get these ahead of time for some reasons that I'm going to mention a little bit later, but you want to communicate with your supplier partner that if they do not turn in their presentation ahead of time, that you will be unable to allow them to present via that method. And I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but it is going to save you a bit of grief at the end. So I would suggest that you ask that these presentations be sent via WeTransfer, which it's a free file sharing a website that you can use, WeTransfer, or you can use whatever method works best for you as far as online file sharing. A lot of the times, our supplier partners' presentations are huge PowerPoints, and sending them via attachment in an email does not usually work out very well. That's why I encourage them to send them via WeTransfer or some other online file transfer service. You want to have one person assigned to your technology needs. That person can be a chapter member or maybe someone you've hired, or if I'm attending your meeting, that person can be myself. And you want to download those PowerPoints in advance of your hotel arrival. If you're downloading PowerPoints via WeTransfer, unfortunately, most hotel Wi-Fi is not powerful enough to download them effectively, especially if those PowerPoints have high resolution graphics or videos. So you want this person who is assigned to this particular part of your trade show to be downloading the PowerPoints at home, either via a wired connection or their at-home stronger internet. And this is why I emphasize that you need to have the supplier partners send their PowerPoints to you early. That way, this gives the person who's working on them time to download them. If for some reason they cannot download them, time to reach out to the supplier partner and say, hey, I was unable to download your PowerPoint. Can you send it again, etc. Next, you want to create one master slide deck. And I'll put an asterisk next to that. I would say for each session or each day if you have a multiple day trade show. And here's why. It is very distracting during trade show presentations if you have someone running up to you or running back to AV with a flash drive full of presentation. There's no guarantee that you're going to be able to open that presentation on your computer, etc. So what I would encourage you to do is to create one master slide deck so that you can very easily transition from supplier partner to supplier partner. This makes your show run a lot smoother, as well as it increases the level of professionalism for your trade show. And the reason why I put an asterisk by this is that if you have a multiple session or multiple day trade show, I would encourage you to break up the slide deck into one slide deck per session or one slide deck per day. Some of our supplier partners have very, very large PowerPoints. And if you put them all in one deck, it will most likely crash the PowerPoint on most computers. So I would encourage you to separate where you can. But at the end, you want to make sure that if you have a show that's broken up by sessions, all of that session is together. Or if you have a show that's broken up by days, all of those days are together. Offer suppliers time to run through their presentation if possible. For example, if your sessions begin in the afternoon, but you have a trade show prior to that, or if they begin, let's say at dinner, and you have a trade show prior to that, offer the supplier partners the chance to click through their slides. And I would encourage that the person who is in charge of the slide deck after they put it together, contact the supplier partners and give them maybe 5 or 10 minutes to click through and rehearse. This way, if there is something like a video that needs to be reset so that it plays upon click, or some sound that needs to be adjusted, you're doing all of that prior to the beginning of your show. Some supplier partners do not wish to use this rehearsal time, but it is kind of you to offer it. And some supplier partners love the rehearsal time because they're getting a corporate created PowerPoint and they may not be as familiar with it as they would like. So I would say if you have time to offer it to them. Even if no supplier partners take you up on this offer, you or whoever's in charge of technology, you want to practice run transitions, video, and audio. And what I mean by that is going from one PowerPoint section to another, making sure all videos play and can be heard, and any sounds play and can be heard. And you want to do this so that when you're in the show, you're not trying to make changes while you have a live audience in front of you. This one run through can help you to eliminate problems. And then if you need to contact the supplier partner again to say, hey, your video is not playing, can you send us another one? Or however you need to work out that technology, you have plenty of time to do so. So those are my tech tips from a standpoint of a technology nerd like myself. Again, I'm happy to assist you if you are if you are working on planning your trade show, if you'd like my assistance in putting together a slide deck, etc., or if you would like me to join you at your trade show to help you run some of these things, please just let me know in advance and I will do my best to be there. Does anyone have any questions about this aspect of it? All right. Again, I'm available if questions should come up as you're looking at contracts and etc. So we're going to wrap this portion of the meeting because Andrew Caulfield should be joining us shortly to talk about the membership retention and recruitment contest for our region. But I want to talk about to AGC and beyond, so kind of where we are to AGC. These are some of our legislative day activities, so I just skipped over those slides. But also have so leading up to AGC, we have our chapter membership drive and competition, which Andrea will be going over shortly. We also have our CPC meeting recap, which is happening right now. And we have our chapter descriptions for the website. So Michelle Mueller sent out an email to all chapter presidents asking for a one-sentence description into a Google Doc that describes the territory that their chapter covers. So using that, I would like to remind everyone to fill out that Google Doc for Michelle. We have our chapter award applications and surveys, which will be coming out to you shortly. And these will be for Chapter on the Rise, Chapter of the Year, Chapter President of the Year, and Regional Director of the Year. So please be on the lookout for all of this. At AGC, we have several things that are going on. Some of you will remember this from my email that allowed you to join the Zoom, but I'd like to go over that with us now. So if you are a chapter president, please email me to register for AGC. Please do not, if you plan to go to AGC, please do not register on your own because the National Board of Directors made funds available for scholarships for chapter presidents to attend AGC. So if you have not contacted me yet about attending AGC and you would like to as a chapter president, please let me know and email me. For chapter leadership, there is a discount for chapter leaders to attend AGC. So please email me for that discount as well. On Monday, August 22nd, 2022, we're going to have our CPC dinner, and that is going to be in the evening from about 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This dinner is open to everyone who will be in attendance at the CPC meeting the following day. Then on Tuesday, August 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., we will have our CPC meeting. That meeting will include breakfast and lunch. And following that meeting from 5:30 to 6:30, we will have the chairman's reception hosted by our current board chairman, Mark Casto. And that chairman's reception is open to all who are in attendance at the CPC meeting. On Wednesday, August 24th, we will have Chapter Connections. For those of you who are new, Chapter Connections is a trade show where the chapters are the ones exhibiting. You want to bring your very best representation of your chapter to the show. Eddie Woodham happens to be online, and I'm happy to say that the South Florida chapter was the official winner of the unofficial Best Chapter Table Award last year with their flamingos and I believe sunglasses. So there is a bit of a competition, and the competition is voted on by the members who are in attendance. And so you want to bring your very best. You want to also bring things that not only represent your chapter, but what your chapter has planned for the upcoming month. So if you have a small QR code, or if you want to have small printouts on upcoming meetings, that is the time. This particular session is situated directly after the new member / new attendee session at AGC. And we will be continuing to push Chapter Connections. Because ASSA's global convention invites ASSA members from all over the US, especially where our domestic chapters are, this is a great opportunity for you to meet and engage in person with chapter members. So I encourage you to bring your very best to your chapter table, and may the best table win. And of course, Thursday, August 25th is the advocacy dinner. This year, thanks in part, at least in part, if not the whole, to Eddie's good work in convincing the board that the ASSA chapter presidents need to be present at this dinner, there is a seat being saved for every single chapter president at ASSA's advocacy dinner. So if you are a chapter president and you are attending, please let me know if you would like to attend the advocacy dinner. If you are a chapter president and you are unable to attend, but you're sending someone else as the official representative of your chapter, please let me know if they will be attending the advocacy dinner. Someone asked if there is a cost for the Chapter Connections table. And there is no cost for the chapter connections table. There used to be, but there is no longer. So all we're asking you to do at Chapter Connections, thank you, Eddie, is for you to be present and ready to engage and meet with members who are ready to engage and meet with you. So there are other events that are going on at AGC, of course, but these are the ones I wanted to highlight for all of our chapter leadership. If you have any questions about what the chapter should be up to during AGC and what chapter leadership should be up to during AGC, please email me at jcausey@asda.org. I also want to emphasize that the chapter president's meeting, dinner, and chairman's reception are open to all chapter leadership. And if you are representing your chapter, you are welcome to come to those 3 events. Please just let me know that you plan to be there if you are not a chapter president, but you are another officer, so I can make sure you are included in the count. And I will remind you once again, if you are a chapter president and you have not yet registered for AGC, please let me know. I do have emails from several of you who reached out about registering for AGC, and I am working through those right now. We did have a little bit of trouble with our technology, but we're back up and running so I can register you all. So if you do not receive a confirmation by the end of the day on July the 1st, please let me know so I can make sure you get registered for AGC. And then if you are a chapter leader, there is a discount available for you to attend AGC. And so please email me for that discount. Since this video is going to go onto YouTube and be very, very public, I will not be giving that discount over this video, but you're welcome to email me for that discount. With that being said, this concludes the recap of our CPC meeting that we had at Legislative Day. At this time, I'm going to invite Andrea Caulfield to talk about the regional recruitment and retention competition that is coming up. Hi, Andrea. I see Andrea is online. Before I do that, I just want to let you all know that I appreciate you all being here. And then if you are listening to this via recording, or if you missed part of the meeting, please put your name and your chapter and your position within the chapter in the chat. Also, if you are listening to the recording, once you listen to the recording, please email me at jcausey@asda.org, and I will have a quiz of sorts for you so that I can give you credit for attending this virtual meeting. And with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Andrea, would you like to share your screen with us at this time?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Andrea.
All right. All right. You gotta give me the reins. Perfect. All right. All right. Now I'm gonna go from the beginning. So that's me. If I can find it. There we go. Hope everybody can see my screen. And I can't wait to change that headshot at some point. I got a new one done, so we'll see. So I just wanted to get a little bit of an overview again of our membership drive, which starts tomorrow. All of the codes that are going to be used are active and ready to go. Your regional directors should have sent those out, but Jasmine, I guess we'll work on getting those out tonight, or I can send a quick email out to the RDs to get those distributed. But they're going to be the same ones as last year. So if you still have those, they're the same codes, nothing's changed on those. So just another reminder, if you were not in DC, it's going to be regionally based like last year. You know, we want to, get a new winner. HQ, Jasmine and I are going to work on making sure we have, the codes are going to be tracked. I'll probably pull information every few weeks on that. And there is going to be a point system. 1 point for renewals, 2 points if you have a renewal from that 8/31/22 paid through date and the 9/30/22 paid through date. So those were the biggest groups we had join last year during the Royal promo that everybody, that joined or got a free cruise. So that's the biggest group you really want to focus on with this. But of course, any new person, any renewal is perfect. We want to, you know, continue to drive in new members for sure. Also, I did extend this program because of the Royal program that's going on now. I added an extra 2 weeks to the membership drive. So the end of August, this will end, and it sort of kind of wraps up the summer. So even if you are kind of planning on having an event before Labor Day, these codes will still be valid until the 31st of August. So that is a change from the meeting last week. So we kind of discussed it as a team. It was sort of just the one thing that kind of would be fair for the group, since Royal is sort of not competing, and I'll kind of go over that later, but wanted to get everybody extra time because I know people are on vacation too. Everybody's going to take time off for the holidays. So I wanted to kind of give a little extra time for this. Again, just things, who can use the discount, only one discount per person. So if somebody wants to use the Royal discount and your discount, it's not going to work. They kind of have to make the decision to choose one or the other. And the same if they have a consortia or whatever discount, it's one or none. Like they have to choose one discount to use. And it can't be retroactive. Even if they've lapsed for 11 months, it's still going to be applicable. And again, it's both new and renewing. So that's kind of like the rules of engagement with that for the discount codes. And here they are. I mean, it's a lot. I'm going to, again, send them out to everybody on this slide if you want, but just depending on the region you're in, it's, newer renewals. And if you have questions, our whole team will be able to help you. I'm sort of the POC on this program, but if I happen to not be in the office or you can't get me for any reason, any one of my team members can help for sure. So don't feel like you can't reach out to ask questions, get some pointers, get the codes, ask for, how many have I got kind of thing. We'll be happy to help any way we can. And, well, I had other slides and I think there we are. Okay. I don't know what happened. So hold on. Technical difficulties. So again, last year, the Northeast one, and just a reminder, we had 2,700 new members in September. So I'd love to get 75% of those retained just in that paid through date group. And it's a possibility. And with the help of everybody, no matter who wins or loses, ASTA wins, no matter what for this push. So it is all about getting involved and getting excited about membership and doing all we can to help get people going and involved. So just a few kind of tips and tricks, especially if you're new to like really pushing membership in your chapter. These are the top 5 reasons you should join. I mean, I use this anytime I'm at an industry program or somebody asks me to do a webinar. I go with 5 things because first it's the advocacy. I mean, a lot of people can relate to that. And we proved that with over 200 people last week in DC, that advocacy is important. Our voices on the Hill are important on the federal and state levels. Getting updated industry news. Obviously the consumer awareness, a portion of it, supplier connections, especially if they're not hosted with any, host or consortia. ASTA sort of is their supplier connection. And then obviously education, the VTA program, other things that we offer. So those are if somebody says, well, why? Here's some whys. And I do have, and I'm sure Jasmine has on the CPC page or your little Google Doc area, flyers and everything. If you don't have that, let me know. I can email you a quick little one sheet that talks to this a little more in depth. And I always use this when somebody says, well, I'm a member of my consortia or host. Why do I need ASTA? How I give this is, your host and consortia helps to, promote you, gives you the tools to do your business, but ASTA defends it. We are here to help you to stay in business. We do through the advocacy, through the consumer awareness. So those are, kind of the talking points I use if somebody comes up with that little, I don't think I need ASTA. And everybody understands the value of ASTA. So this is just another, slide together that, we're stronger together and not apart is what I use this for. And again, I'm happy to share these things, and there's us, and I think that was it. But, it's an easy speak to, remember, you all are members of ASTA, so you know why you joined, and you know why, you think you should get involved with ASTA. So those conversations should be pretty easy for you to have with a new member. And anyone on my team, if they still have questions and you don't think you can, answer it, have them call me, have them call Jasmine or Pam or Anna. We can talk them through it, help them walk through ASTA and what it means to be an ASTA member. And I know a lot of you have had questions about this royal promotion, and I want to put your mind at ease. It's really not competing with you guys. And, there's a limited amount of cabins being given away, and, we're pretty much at that 500 level already. It's a drawing. They're not guaranteed any cabin at all when they, use that to renew or join. So you're coming out then with a monetary discount, which if they joined last year for their free cruise, they did not receive. So this is sort of like an added bonus for them, because they won't take the cruise if they can't go in November. So there's kind of, and it's great to have options. It really is. So if it's an easy sell, it really is. And especially if they really don't want to go on the cruise or can't, well, here, I have this option for you instead. So again, I am happy to talk to anybody offline and all that. So I know, let's see. Yes, I will send the discount codes. And yes, only the points are used if I can pull the report. So if they don't use your code, I don't know. I'll know, I guess they'll have renewed, but it'll just be like a normal renewal. So I won't know unless they use the code that it came from your region or through your chapter. So, and, make sure that they do use it, and, emphasize that when you announce it. And a reminder, do not put it on social. You can say, call me, we have a membership discount program going, contact your local chapter president. If you don't know, send an email to Ask ASTA and I can get you in touch with your chapter president. But I don't want them floating out there at all for people to see. And, will it happen? Of course, we know people talk, but we want to really engage your members to come to you and to come to an event and read your emails and all that. And if you have a secured Facebook, maybe, but I would highly not recommend it at all. Just, it really is about you having a conversation with your members about the importance of ASTA, why you should join and or renew. So that's what I want to start, getting y'all comfortable with having those conversations, because I can't be everywhere. So, and if you want to have a webinar, a meeting, and I can, get to it pretty easily, or Jasmine can get online and talk to it, or, Pam, between the three of us, if you want to get a group together, I'm always up for a happy hour. Everybody knows that. So just let me know. I'll get my bottle of wine and, whatever, and talk membership. I'm happy to do that. I know I'm going to Delaware Valley next week. I'll be out in the Fiesta in the desert the week after. So there's a lot of time and a lot of excitement we can build around this, and also push ASTA Global Convention, especially you West Coasters. Get people to come. So, it's going to be a great event. It's, a new city that, we haven't been to at least since I've been here. So we haven't been on the West Coast since San Diego, I guess. So let's just, work on, driving up attendance and representative of your chapter, especially. So I am going to look at some chat questions. So Louise, to answer your question, if somebody has been not renewed for over a year, they're technically going to join. So yes, they can use the code. It's perfectly fine. So that's not an issue at all. Yes, the Royal, there's a discount code that they need to know after they've listened to Vicky's coffee talk for the Royal promotion. So in her coffee talk last week, she gave a code that they have to put in order to get on the list to be sent to Royal for the possibility to win. So Tam, I hope that helps you with that. So are there any other questions? I'm so excited. It's going to be great. I'm excited to see what we can do to retain, especially, and bring in new people. I mean, I will say the Royal promotion has brought in over 100 new members, which is fantastic. You know, and once that's over, you know, update your lists, you know, say welcome, make sure that you are reaching out to anybody that joins, irregardless of how they've come into, you know, membership. We should be reaching out to them at least once a month from the local side, just to let them know that, because that's one of the things I talk about is the local communities that are available to them. So make sure you are reaching out to any new members that come on board during the months. Jasmine, you think there's anything else I missed or didn't talk about? Anybody else have any questions?
I just want to emphasize a couple of the points that Andrea brought up. One, the power of your story is going to be very, very important as to, you know, and this is something for you to think about too. Why are you a member of ASTA? What drew you to ASTA? Why have you continued to be a member of ASTA? Those are going to be things and stories that you can tell that we can't tell. And so it's going to be really important for you to think about those items, especially, and to challenge your chapter officers to think about those items as well.